Hello. Today we're going to take a look at the process of using a projector to project an image onto a piece of paper so that you can then trace it on that piece of paper. This works really well for all sorts of different purposes, and it means that you can make the image any size that you want to, and that you can put it onto any kind of paper and so on. So the particular brand I'm using is Teoli, but there are oodles of these projectors out there on the market. They have a connector, let's see if you can see this, for HDMI, for USB, and other kinds of connectors on there. So you can, usually I just use an USB. I stick the images onto the USB thumb drive and then pop it in there, and now I have access to all of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to project this image onto the wall, and then I'm going to tape a piece of paper onto the wall where that image is, and then I'm going to show you how the tracing process works. All right, so first we're going to turn this on. It'll start up, just takes a moment. All right, so it's projecting over on the wall. All right, so we've got this little menu system. You can show movies, it can play music, and we're interested in doing photos. So right now the arrow is pointing at movies. This interface will be different depending on what kind of projector you have, but they're all pretty much the same. So I'm just going to use the little arrow to move it to say that we're looking at photos. I'm clicking OK. It says where do you want to get the photos from in case you have multiple sources. I'm just going to say this attached USB drive. And now it's simply showing me all of the different files that are in there. So I'll use my little arrow keys to go down to this one I'm interested in. And this is a picture of a diner that we're working on. This is the Miss Menden diner, and it gives you details about it. Now you could put multiple pictures in here and make a slideshow, which is used for, having family get together and seeing slideshows of your vacation and so on. But in our case, we don't want this image to move. We just want it to sit on this one particular image. And even though this looks like it's a small image because it's got the rest of that other resolution and everything, that actually ends up being just the right size for drawing on a normal 8.5 by 11 type of paper. Or I think this is probably 9 by 12. So I tend to use just this little preview mode for my pictures. The problem is if you get much closer than this, here, let me back up so you can see about the distance from this. If you get much closer than this, it can't focus anymore. It starts to get fuzzy. And if you had the image full screen, it would be pretty gigantic, as you can see from the little light switches there. So that would be too big to put onto most pieces of paper. So I find that this view here, nice and simple, gives you the lines that you need to trace, and then also is the right size for what you're trying to do. So if I hold up one of my pieces of 9 by 12 paper over here, see, that's just about perfect. So I'm going to stop the video for a second so I can tape this, because I only have one set of hands, and then I'll start up again once I've got it taped. Alright, so now, as you can see, I have taped a piece of paper right where the image is displaying, and I have the house lights on so that you can see this. So the image looks a little light, but if I were to turn the room lights off, this shows up much brighter for the tracing process. So you can see the edges of my piece of paper. I use painter's tape so that it doesn't hurt the wall at all. And now I can just sit down next to this with a pencil and draw as much detail or as little detail as I want to be able to get myself started. And it doesn't matter how thick or dark or anything else this paper is. If this paper was super thick, then I wouldn't be able to use it on a light table because the light wouldn't shine through the paper enough to be able to have the image beneath it seen. But this will always work with the projector because the projector is shining the image right on the surface of it. And like I said, I could do any size that I wanted to. I could pull the projector back and make it much larger if I wanted a huge image. I can't push the projector too much closer than this, but I could artificially edit the image in Photoshop or something like that to make it smaller, or give it a border. If I gave it a black border around the edge, the whole picture would be smaller. So there's ways to adjust it to make the image smaller. So this works very well. for any sort of tracing or reproducing kinds of projects. And if you don't have a projector, many libraries will lend these kinds of things out. Or they are fairly inexpensive. If you're going to use it a lot, it might be a good investment for the artwork that you're doing. So let me know if you have any questions about how the process of using a projector to trace a source image works. Alright, and here is the finished drawing that I traced. I have very shaky hands, so you can tell that my version has some little shakes to it, but if you have steadier hands or can enlist the help of someone with steadier hands, then you can get a pretty accurate duplication of the image that you're working on. And the idea is to give you a starting point that you can then work with going forward. So let me know if you have any questions about this process.